Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for White, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Friday the 2nd of December 2023. My apologies for my absence last week. I was on a conference in London with the sight loss sector, couldn't find a quiet space and hence missed the opportunity to record the Talking News introduction. However, I'm back this week and I would like to start by thanking the Isle of Wight College for a lovely meal on the 17th of November when lots of members, volunteers, trustees and staff got together to celebrate the year ended the 31st of March 2023. We all enjoyed a 3-course meal prepared by the college students and served also by the college students, which was started off with a presentation that I had made of all of the things that we had done in that year. The presentation did go on for a while, apologies for that, but there is so much to talk about, so much to celebrate, so a huge thank you to everybody. Early next week, we're sending out a mini December newsletter to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, give a last chance to buy raffle tickets, tell everybody about the awards ceremony for the short story writing competition, and to invite members, volunteers, staff, trustees, friends, family, anybody along to Millbrook House on Wednesday the 13th of December from 10:30 to 12:30 to enjoy a glass of mulled wine and a mince pie. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Sight for White.
Here is this week's charity news for the 1st of December. Swimming at Medina Leisure Centre, Newport, between 1:15 and 2:15. The cost is £6 and transport is available. We have full use of the pool and therefore even if you would just like gentle exercise in the water, please come along, you will be very welcome. Our IT drop-in resumes at Millbrook House on Monday at 9:30 a.m. until 12:30. This is now an appointment-only service, so please call the office and book a slot with Sam. God's Hill Coffee Morning is on Tuesday at the Old Smithy, God's Hill, between 10:30 and 12. Please pop along and meet our wonderful volunteers, Yvonne and Linda. Have a chat over coffee. Yoga is on Tuesday at Millbrook House at 1:45 to 2:45 and refreshments afterwards. This is open to everyone and the price is £4.
Coffee and chat is on Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. at Millbrook House. Please come along and meet the staff, volunteers and members for a chat and also to look at second-hand equipment, seek advice, etc. This is open to everyone. Following our coffee morning, we will be holding our Sight for White feedback and chat. This is an opportunity for members to provide any suggestions of services we could provide and feedback on what we already provide. Our monthly book group is on Thursday, meeting at the Lord Louis Library, Newport, starting at 2 p.m. The group is open to everyone and free to attend.
Friday night we have our annual story writing competition awards ceremony at the Riverside Centre, Newport. Doors open at 6:30 and the ceremony starts at 7 p.m. This event is free to attend and we have a raffle, tombola and entertainment on the night. Hayley, our nail cutter, is available for appointments at Millbrook House on a Thursday. The cost is £25 for a half-hour time slot. Please call Susan for an appointment on 522-205. We are very pleased to announce we have been donated a beautiful hand-sewn quilt, which we have decided to raffle. You can buy a square for £2 from the office. The draw will take place on December the 13th. It is a king-size quilt and beautiful. It is hung in Millbrook House on display.
We will be drawing the raffle on our Christmas festive morning, the 13th of December. If you would like to join us for mulled wine and mince pies, please call the office and let us know. The invitation is open to everyone. We now have over 30 prizes kindly donated. So if you would like more tickets, please call the office and payment can be made by card or we can send out more tickets to you. Our wonderful volunteers have once again been knitting chocolate orange covers and are available for £3 each from Millbrook House. Bryston Tree Festival is on next week between Thursday the 7th of December to Sunday the 10th of December. We are displaying our tree in the Wilberforce Hall, Bryston. If you're visiting the festival, please take a look at our beautiful tree. Cowes Concert Band are playing in Newport Methodist Church on Monday 18th of December, starting at 7:45pm. Admission is free, but a collection will be taken in aid of Sight for White and the band. Please go along and support this evening. Everyone is very welcome. This is the second part of the Talking News, read by Kate
and Mary.
We begin with more news items taken from the County Press and the Observer.
This is Alison, reading an article from the Island Echo, entitled Council Launches Section 19 Investigation into October and November's Severe Flooding. An investigation into the severe flooding across many parts of the island has been officially launched by the Isle of Wight Council. Flooding from Storm Babette and Storm Ciarán in October and November led to blocked roads and submerged properties after the island was hit by spells of torrential rain, some of the heaviest downpours in over 70 years. The Council has now started an investigation to better understand the causes and any factors that may have influenced the severity of the flooding. The work is being carried out under the requirements of the Flood and Water Management Act 2010. The first part of this work is collecting evidence from residents, businesses and private bodies with flood management responsibilities affected by or involved in the response to the flooding. Natasha Dix, Service Director, Waste, Environment and Planning, has said, "It is essential that we look into the causes and impacts of the flooding that occurred following the storms in October and November. Many residents were adversely affected and much distress and damage to properties resulted. We know that a large number of residents have already applied for flood recovery grants that are available, and I hope as many residents as possible will take the opportunity to contribute to this investigation. The information people supply will be crucial to helping us understand the impact of the flooding on the local community and will help us to consider potential options to take preventative steps and to mitigate the risk of similar flooding occurring in the future. Residents affected by the flooding during Storm Babette and Storm Ciarán are encouraged to fill in the flood investigation form on the Council's website at https://flood-risk-and-investigation/, where more information can also be found. Any relevant supporting evidence, such as photographs, records of emergency service attendance and insurance claims, can be sent to S19 Investigations at S19 Investigations at jbaconsulting.com. Forms should be completed and evidence sent in by Friday the 22nd of December 2023. Residents who have already applied for flood recovery grants do not need to complete the forms as their information and evidence has already been processed.
Hi, this is Steve reading a story from Isle of Wight Radio, headlined Cowes Floating Bridge to be suspended for 10 days as a result of wear and tear. While the floating bridge was out of service last week owing to debris in the chain pits, the technical team took the opportunity to review the works scheduled for the annual refit in March 2024. It was found that a significant amount of wear and tear had occurred to the chain segments, several guide wheels and the pro brushes. It is likely that some of this deterioration is due to the recent exceptional tides and stormy weather. As a precaution, and to avoid a potential total breakdown of the parts, works to carry out rectification of the wear and tear are to be undertaken sooner rather than later. As a consequence, the floating bridge service will be suspended between Monday 4th December and Wednesday 13th December inclusive to undertake the preventative maintenance, and it is envisaged that these works will reduce downtime in March 2024. A launch service will be in place for foot passengers and cyclists.
This is Den reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Cost of living support available to islanders this Christmas. If you're feeling stressed out with the cost of the festive season coming up, support is available across the island to help. The Christmas Holiday Activities and Food Scheme is back this year. It's for children who receive free school meals, although there are some paid-for places available. Discover lots of different activities for all ages, including teens. Everyone who goes along gets a nutritious meal during the day. There's also a network of more than 50 warm welcome spaces that offer warmth, friendship and other support. Advertisement. Each warm welcome space is different. You can find one near you on the Isle of Wight Council's website. Community pantries and larders supported by the UK Government's Household Support Fund are there for everyone. You don't need to be on benefits to go along. Become a member, and for £5 a week, you can top up your weekly shop with groceries worth at least £15. Find out more on the Connect for Communities website. For information about keeping warm, claiming benefits, and more, see the Isle of Wight Council's cost of living pages. And to give you an extra helping hand with your Christmas shopping, we've got a prize draw running. You could be in with a chance to win one of 5 £50 supermarket vouchers. Supported by the free Multiply Maths courses, just answer 5 maths questions and be in with a chance to win. The competition is live and closes on Monday the 4th of December. Get full terms and conditions and enter the prize draw online.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Project to repaint former Island Line train in iconic livery launched. A former Island Line train that is now in the caring hands of the London Transport Traction Group is to be repainted in its iconic Network South East livery to mark 35 years since the Class 483 trains entered service on the Isle of Wight. Converted from ex-London Underground 1938 tube stock between 1989 and 1991, these two-car electric multiple units were introduced to replace the ageing standard tube stock which had been operating on the Isle of Wight since 1967. 006 entered Island Line service in 1990 following refurbishment at Eastleigh Works, by which time she was already 50 years old. After a little over 30 years of work on the island, 006 was the last of its type to run in service on 3rd of January 2021, bringing an 80-year career to an end. Since withdrawal, 006 has been homed at the Llanelli and Munud Moir Railway in South Wales, later joined by 008. Between these long-lived vehicles there is quite a story to tell, and there is no time like the present to begin telling it. Since the last of these trains was withdrawn in 2021, all remaining units have been fortunate enough to survive, and most of these are presented in their final livery of Island Line Red or else in an interpretation of London Transport read. When introduced in 1989, the Class 483 fleet was not red. These new trains were painted in the striking red, white and blue livery of Network South East, affectionately known to enthusiasts as toothpaste livery. It was a bold new look for these trains, which had only ever been seen in the plainer red liveries favoured by London Transport, and it remains popular to this day. With the 35th anniversary of the Class 483s now approaching, and the 40th anniversary of Network South East not far away, the London Transport Traction Group says now is the ideal time to display 006 in the eye-catching red, white and blue that marked the birth of Island Line. Support of islanders and rail enthusiasts alike is being sought to help fund the ambitious project, with a target set of £1,500.
This is Alison reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio entitled Plans in Place for Residential Development on Isle of Wight Greenfield Site. A greenfield site on the Isle of Wight could be developed under new plans submitted by mainland developers. Hertfordshire-based Redmer Developments has submitted plans which could see around 16 homes built off the main road next to Wellow Fields. The developers are seeking outline consent for access from the main road and the principle of developing the site. As part of the planning documents, an idea of the site's layout and the number of properties in a range of house types and tenures have been put forward, but is not final. Planning agents BCM, on behalf of Redmer Developments, said of the potential 16 properties, 8 would be deemed as affordable with discounted prices. It is proposed more than 1 hectare would be developed, leaving the remaining land as an open space and wilderness area. The site would be next to the Millennium Fields and near the West Wight Alpacas and Llamas farm. The site had been identified in 2018 by the Isle of Wight Council as being suitable for housing with a potential for 15 houses. You can view the plans at 23/01955/OUT on the Isle of Wight Council's planning register. Comments can be submitted until December the 22nd. A further application to determine the appearance, landscape, layout and scale of the site would need to be made if the outline consent is granted.
Hello, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo, headlined Roisin Mullins Dance Academy to provide free festive dance lessons. With just weeks to go until Christmas, a Celtic dance coach has opened the doors to her Irish dance studio sessions for free. Brading-based Roisin Mullins Dance Academy, which recently celebrated Disney Dance Day, is led by former Michael Flatley's Lord of the Dance star Roisin Mullins, who appeared on TV's The X Factor. All new dancers joining the fun festive Saturday sessions, running between 2nd and 16th of December, will be gifted them for free in spirit with the festive season. The sessions offer kids and teens the amazing opportunity to learn river dance style routines from a stage and screen professional, along with popular music video style freestyle dancing. Dancers completing the free sessions will be offered the opportunity to train as part of the Academy's show and feis competition troupe. Roisin is the island's only and commission registered Irish dancing coach, providing young stars with worldwide opportunities. Former dancers of the Academy have toured in shows, danced at Disney, on TV and represented England at the CLRG World Irish Dancing Championships. UK champion and bronze world medalist Roisin commented, "This year, many families are facing extreme financial difficulty. Some are having to choose between activities, presents and basics. That's why this year, inspired by my own children's wish to dance, I'm gifting 3 weeks of free tuition. Dance is the best way for a child to improve their fitness, coordination and confidence. No child should have to miss their opportunity to dance, especially at Christmas. I'm incredibly proud of my professional dance work and the achievements of my dancers. So, as a gift, I am passing on my skills to the next generation." For further information on that, you can email Roisin Mullins at live.co.uk.
This is Den reading an article from the Island Echo. UK's travel revolution, introducing the Electronic Travel Authorisation (ETA) system in different phases. The UK is transforming its border and immigration system to make it more secure, efficient and convenient for travellers. One of the key changes is the introduction of the Electronic Travel Authorisation (ETA) system, which will require most visitors to the UK to obtain a digital permission before they travel. The ETA system will be launched in different phases starting from October 2023. In this article, we will explain what the ETA system is, who needs it, how to apply for it, and what are the benefits of it. You should check the new ETA system if you are planning to visit the UK in the near future. You should check the new ETA system and see if you need to apply for it. The ETA system is similar to those used by the USA, Canada, Australia and New Zealand. It is not a visa, but a visa waiver that allows you to enter the UK for short-term stays, such as tourism, business or transit. The ETA system will apply to most visitors who do not have a visa for the UK or do not have a UK immigration status before travelling. This includes citizens of the European Union, the United States, Australia, Canada, and many other countries. You can find a complete list of eligible countries on the official website of the UK government. The ETA system will be rolled out in 3 phases according to the nationality of the travellers. The first phase will start on the 25th of October 2023 and will apply to Qatari nationals who will need an ETA to travel to the UK. The second phase will start on the 1st of February 2024 and will apply to nationals of Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates and Jordan. The third phase will start later in 2024 and will apply to the rest of the world, including the EU countries. The UK government will announce the exact dates and details of each phase in the course. To apply for an ETA, you will need to fill out an online application form, pay the fee, provide your contact and passport details, upload a digital photo, and answer some security and health questions. The application process is simple and fast, and most applicants will receive a response within 3 working days or sooner. The ETA will be valid for 2 years or until your passport expires, whichever is sooner. It will also permit multiple entries to the UK as long as you comply with the rules and conditions of your stay. What are the benefits of the ETA system? The ETA system will bring many benefits to the UK and its visitors, such as enhancing the security of the UK border by screening the travellers in advance and preventing the entry of those who pose a threat to the UK's safety and interests. Improving the efficiency of the UK border by reducing the waiting times and queues at the ports of entry and enabling a smoother and faster travel experience for the visitors. Increasing the convenience of the UK border by offering a simple and user-friendly online application process and allowing the travellers to use e-gates and biometric passports to enter the UK. Supporting the UK's economy and tourism by attracting more visitors and business travellers to the UK and facilitating trade and investment opportunities. How to prepare for the ETA system. If you are planning to visit the UK after the ETA system is implemented, you should take the following steps to prepare for it. Check if you need an ETA for nationality and purpose of visit, and when you need to apply for it by visiting the official website of the UK government. Apply for an ETA at least 3 working days before your intended date of travel by using the UK ETA app or the online application form on the UK government website. Make sure you have a valid passport, a digital photo, a credit or debit card, and an email address to complete your ETA application. Keep your ETA confirmation email and your passport handy when you travel to the UK and present this to the border officials if requested. Follow the rules and conditions of your ETA and your stay in the UK and respect the laws and customs of the UK. The ETA system is part of the UK's travel revolution, which aims to make the UK a more secure, efficient and convenient destination for visitors from all over the world. By applying for an ETA, you will be able to enjoy the benefits of the new system and have a hassle-free and enjoyable trip to the UK. If you need more help, you can visit Island Echo, a local newspaper and website that covers the Isle of Wight's latest news, weather, travel and events. You can even find more articles on the UK and other destinations on their website.
This is an article from Isle of Wight Radio, read by Terry. Isle of Wight fraud case to feature on national TV this week. One of the biggest trading standards prosecutions ever brought by the Isle of Wight Council was featured on national TV this week. Earlier this year, the authority was successful in bringing a case against Simon Regan, the director of Angel Coatings, who was jailed for 3 years for fraudulent trading. Regan's company laid resin drives and pathways, charging customers thousands of pounds for work which was not up to scratch. Following the court case in February, Trading Standards officers and several witnesses were interviewed for Defenders UK, the BBC One show which highlights the work authorities are doing to protect the public from scam artists and conmen. The Island episode was due to air on Monday the 27th of November at 10 a.m. During the trial, the court heard evidence from 65 witnesses from the Isle of Wight, Hampshire and Devon, where Regan's companies had committed offences. The collective fraud of these contracts was valued at around £300,000. Regan's offending included gross overcharging, works that were poorly or incompetently installed, 10-year guarantees that were worthless or had little value, remedial works that were only partially undertaken or not undertaken at all, and the non-return of deposits paid when cancellation rights had been exercised. Witnesses told the court Regan, 58, would make threats to rip up the driveways if he didn't receive payment in full, and when civil action was attempted in the county court, he would threaten consumers again. You can read more about the case on the council's website.
This is Alison, reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio entitled Bin and Gone, Residents Team Up for Community Stream Clean. Over the weekend, 3 residents of Cemetery Road, Binstead, jumped in the stream that runs at the rear of their properties, clearing out debris and detritus, ensuring a free run of water. In the flooding of 2021 and again recently, blockages and backups were experienced, causing flood issues and damage. Residents of Cemetery Road, that included Darren Bacon and Richard Bond, who were massively affected by the flooding, along with Chris Jenkins from slightly further up the hill, donned their waders to address one of the problems. Chris said, "We, like some others, have the stream running to the rear of our properties, so we all have riparian rights. It means we are responsible for maintaining various elements, which includes the trees and shrubs growing on the banks, plus clearing any debris, which, as you can see, was significant." The term riparian owner describes anyone who owns property alongside or through which a natural watercourse flows. Under common law, such owners possess rights and responsibilities in relation to the stretch of the watercourse that flows through or adjacent to their property. A watercourse may be anything from a ditch to a main river. It is normally presumed that a riparian owner owns land up to the centre line of a non-tidal watercourse. Councillor Ian Dorr joined Darren, Rich and Chris getting dirty and wet, helping out. He said, "I had visited an adjoining property a couple of days before and had seen a different perspective of the stream. The owner has 3 little ones. She and her partner work shifts, and it was a fairly big job. I've got a saw, boots and a brew kit. Duty called. We all know each other. It was a nice morning, so we all jumped in and smashed it out."
Hi everyone, this is Steve reading a story from the Island Echo, headlined Wild Heart Trust Seeks Support to Regenerate Sandown Fort. The Wild Heart Trust, which operates the Wild Heart Animal Sanctuary in Sandown, has submitted a bid to the National Lottery Heritage Fund to improve access to Sandown's Granite Fort. Through its plans, the Trust hopes to be able to preserve the heritage of the fort and make the site accessible to those with specific access or special educational needs. Wild Heart's Chief Operating Officer Lawrence Bates has said, "We hope through our plans that we can preserve the heritage of the fort, promote inclusivity, improve accessibility and demonstrate our commitment to the regeneration of Sandown Bay." The funding application was sent off with a letter of support from the island's MP Bob Seeley, who said, "I have written in support of this application because it ticks a lot of boxes. This project contributes towards education, preserving our history, and promotes inclusivity. I'm always keen to support bids that provide opportunities to preserve the island's heritage and bring buildings back into use for both islanders and visitors to enjoy. The fort, which sits near the entrance to the animal sanctuary, was built in the mid-19th century to protect the bay against a perceived French invasion, and during the Second World War it housed 16 pumps for the Pluto, that's the pipeline and the ocean operation, to supply the Allies with fuel."
This is Den reading an article from the Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight MP slates most expensive ferries on Earth. Isle of Wight MP Bob Seeley has spoken about the high cost of cross-Solent ferries and the impact the fares had on the cost of providing council and other services on the island. Mr Seeley made the comments during a parliamentary debate on Isle of Wight local government finance last Thursday, 23rd of November. He told Local Government Minister Simon Hoare MP, "We have some of the most expensive ferries on earth, with lots of good ideas about what to do about them, but we have never had a shared manifesto that the MP and the council can agree on. The island's council has no powers over the ferries, despite being the Transport Authority, and as far as I can see, it has never taken a policy position. We have the Transport Infrastructure Board, under the great leadership of Christopher Garnett, but the ferry firm's participation is voluntary, and I think that is wrong." Mr Seeley went on to suggest how the government could help. He added, "I understand that soon the ferries will start to have discussions about grants and government support to move to net zero. At that point, when public money is being spent, there should be a quid pro quo, such as a public service obligation of some kind. I am also moving towards the idea of a Solent ferry regulator, which would have the legal power to sign off on timetables, debt levels, changes to ownership, and other issues relating to the ferries. The council should also have a seat on both the Whitelink and Red Funnel boards." Mr Seeley said he would develop these ideas further in the new year.
This is an article from the Island Echo, read by Terry. Visit Isle of Wight welcomes new chair to the Board of Directors. A new chair is set to bring a wealth of national tourism industry experience to the board of Visit Isle of Wight, the island's destination management marketing organisation, DMO. Directors recently unanimously voted to appoint David Curtis Brignall, MBE, as the new chair of the organisation. It follows the resignation earlier this year of Ian Griffiths, who was the chairman of the board of directors at Visit Isle of Wight since 2019 and helped to guide the company through the pandemic and then on to success in achieving local visitor economy partnership, that's LVEP status, with Visit England. David Curtis Brignall comes to Visit Isle of Wight with a vast wealth of experience in travel, tourism, destination management organisations and the hotel sector at a local, regional and national level. He explains, "My career has been all about tourism, starting in local government, then working in and later alongside the National Tourist Board, gaining commercial experience in international hotel companies and tour operators. But perhaps the most rewarding times have been when working in destination management organisations, DMOs. These are at the very heart of the visitor economy. They shape the destinations they serve and work in partnership with stakeholders to create a thriving visitor economy. Visit Isle of Wight is among the most highly regarded DMOs in England, and it will be a genuine pleasure to work with and support Will Miles and his team to further develop our relationships, opportunities for businesses, and meet the challenges and targets ahead, which I'm sure we're going to face." David is currently on the non-executive board of Visit Isle of Man, has been chair of the Tourism Society twice, the only person to have done so, was deputy CEO of Visit Kent, Visit Hearts Steering Group Chair of English Tourism Week, as well as previous roles with Travel Trade for the English Tourist Board and marketing and sales in the tourism sector. David says he is particularly pleased to be working to help the visitor economy on the island. The other attraction to me personally is, of course, that the Isle of Wight is an amazing place to promote. You've got the range of attractions, both natural and built, the history and the heritage, your events programme, and not forgetting the wide range of accommodation and food and drink. So all of this, combined with a genuine sense of welcoming, is something that everyone should be proud to be part of. Will Miles, Managing Director at Visit Isle of Wight, says, I am very glad to be working with David as the Chair of the Board of Directors at Visit Isle of Wight. The wealth of knowledge and experience he brings is second to none, which will ultimately benefit the island's businesses in the visitor economy. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the former chair, Ian Griffiths, whose leadership and good counsel proved invaluable in helping steer Visit Isle of Wight through the turbulent waters of the pandemic, see the renewal of the Wight bid for a second term, and to achieve LVEP status for the island.
Huge risk if GP surgery can't find new premises. A doctor's surgery is struggling to operate out of its current practices and is a huge risk of causing health inequalities, a councillor fears. Raising the issue at an Isle of Wight Council meeting recently, Councillor Martin Oliver, the representative from Mountjoy and Shide, highlighted how Newport Health Centre was bursting at its seams. The practice, which formed following the merger of Dower House Surgery and Carisbrooke Health Centre in 2019, has more than 24,000 patients on its books. It operates from 2 sites on Carisbrooke High Street and the centre of Newport. Councillor Oliver said, the lack of appropriate site has had a huge risk of causing health inequalities as the practice struggles to fit the services they need. He said the practice has been trying to work with the council for more than 3 years to find an alternative location and called for the council leader, Councillor Phil Jordan, to help it obtain the only site that is viable for a new facility on Godric Road.
Plans to move the health centre to the site near Asda were first heard in public 2 years ago, as the Carisbrooke facility was deemed unfit for purpose, and the former practice partners at Dower House wanted to sell the Pyle Street property. Contractors Assura had been engaged to find and develop a state-of-the-art building with a large car park and favoured the Isle of Wight Council-owned space on Godric Road. In 2021, fears had been raised that the out-of-town site would be challenging to access for some residents who do not drive or would have to get 2 buses to get treatment. Councillor Jordan said he had already met the practice, but pledged to do so again, and said he was committed to trying to find a solution for the problem, as it was important to local communities. Councillor Jeff Brodie, the Pan and Barton representative, said Newport councillors had been seriously concerned about the practice as a premises, as it was affecting the healthcare people were receiving.
Repairs put bridge out of service. Floating bridge grounded. Wear and tear on the floating bridge means the vessel is once again being pulled from service next week. Starting from Monday, the chain ferry will be out of action for a week. The Isle of Wight Council has said preventative works need to be undertaken. It said a significant amount of wear and tear was found to have occurred to the chain segments, several guide wheels and the pro bushes. A spokesman for the council said, "It is likely that some of this deterioration is due to the recent exceptional tides and stormy weather. As a precaution and to avoid a potential total breakdown of the parts, works to carry out rectification of the wear and tear are to be undertaken sooner rather than later. Next week's works mean it will be suspended until December the 13th. A launch service will be in place for foot passengers and cyclists."
The post office returns to town centre. Newport's 2-year wait for a post office finally came to an end on Wednesday, as staff at its new home took in parcels and letters for the first time. Newport Post Office has officially opened at Central Convenience Store on the High Street. The town has been without a post office since the former cooperative on South Street, Pyle Street, where it was previously based, shut in February 2021. Its closure meant the nearest facilities were in Pan or Carisbrooke. Wednesday's opening means customers can once again head to the town to post letters and parcels, as well as collect and return online shopping items. Taking on the town's post office has also seen Central employ 2 more staff members, with a third likely on the way. Justin Cook, store manager of the shop and post office, told the county press, "The whole town has been asking for one for such a long time, so there has been a huge demand for it. We should see a benefit for the shop as well. There's a huge interest and just what we need." The post office opened at 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Caroline Bennington was one of the first to use the new facilities, and she told the county press, "It's much more convenient. I'm thoroughly pleased to have one back in the town." Shaping Newport, a collaboration between Newport Business Association, Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council and the Isle of Wight Council, led attempts to bring services back. Graham Brander, the Post Office Network Provision Manager, said, "We are delighted to have restored a post office to Newport, as we know how important a post office is to a community. The branch's opening hours will make it very convenient for customers to visit. The usual opening hours will be Monday to Saturday, 6 a.m. until 10 p.m, and Sunday, 7 a.m. until 10 p.m.
Ferry treat for Doctor Who fans. An Isle of Wight ferry firm had a visit from 2 time-travelling Doctor Who icons to mark the 60th anniversary of the hit Sci-Fi series. Last Thursday, Red Funnel's East Cowes Terminal welcomed the Time Lord's space and time ship, the TARDIS, and his immortal enemy, a Dalek. The duo are owned by Carisbrooke's Roy Spearman, who helps to organise Fan TC Con, the island's version of a Comic Con event. Speaking to the county press, Roy revealed how he is known as a TARDIS Wrangler, a dubious honour bestowed on him for his work on productions for the show. Roy's TARDIS is called the Old Girl, and his Dalek is known as Dale Kay. He brought them down to the East Cowes Terminal for Islanders to have a look, as part of a celebration of the show. It returned on Saturday, November the 25th, with David Tennant once again playing the Doctor. The second of 3 special episodes airs tomorrow, Saturday.
The Ryde Pier walkway remains closed. The pedestrian walkway on Ryde Pier is to remain closed for at least another week. Ferry firm Whitelink has said it is undertaking work as part of the new Ryde interchange. The walkway was first opened in June, just in time for the arrival of Isle of Wight festival goers. At the time, Whitelink's head of port operations, Dean Murphy, said, "Strollers now have their own path, away from cars and bicycles, making Ryde Pier more pleasurable for people who want to walk by the sea or travel on foot to and from Whitelink's Fast Cats. New shelters and seats will offer everyone a chance to relax and enjoy the beautiful views across the Solent. Whiteling has said the walkway will temporarily close until Sunday, December the 10th. It is necessary to allow for work to connect it to the new transport hub, the operator said. A spokesperson said the Fastcat service will not be affected and pedestrians will be asked to use the pathway along the road pier. The walkway links Ryde Pier Head and Ryde Esplanade and replaces the old tramway. It has been built on the Victorian cast iron piles of the old tramway next to the railway pier.
NHS Not Off the Island pledge. The island's mental health, community and learning disability services will be brought under the same banner with Mainland Health Trust in spring next year, but island services will stay local, a health boss has confirmed. The boards of the Solent NHS Trust, Southern Health NHS Foundation Trust and Isle of Wight Trust have signed off on the creation of Hampshire and Isle of Wight Healthcare NHS Foundation Trust. Bringing together all the services, the new combined trust is expected to come into being in April 2024. The driving factors are the need to transform services to meet the increasing demand and complexity of health issues and to improve the consistency of care. An independent review in 2022 found that a combined trust was required to deliver sustainable services which would reduce health inequalities, provide consistent and accessible local care, and improve outcomes for communities. The Isle of Wight NHS Trust current community mental health services include CAHMS will be transported across to the new trust, with the Isle of Wight Trust continuing to deliver acute and ambulance services here. Dr. Leslie Stevens, Director of Mental Health and Learning Disabilities at the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, said, "We are really pleased about the change. We are going to be part of a big organisation, but we are going to still be on the island. Services will stay where they are. We are not making any plans for moving services off the island, but it does mean we will have access to a specialist organisation that will give us all sorts of benefits. There will be no planned increase or decrease in islanders having to travel to the mainland for services," the Trust said. Staffing has been a concern for mental health services, but under the new banner, staff can arrive from other trusts and support island staff. For current staff, Dr. Stevens says the biggest change they are likely to see for some time is the name of the organisation on their paychecks.
Rare ammonite found in Chale. A keen fossil hunter has found a once-in-a-lifetime rare Epicalonoceras ammonite on the beach in Chale Bay. Jack Wantfer, 23, from Ventnor, who's been collecting fossils since he was 4, discovered the incredible 25-stone fossil following the recent bad weather and landslips which have affected the island. Jack explained, "After this recent bad weather, I thought it was worth going for a look around the lower Greenland with my pal Glenn Martin. I found a big rock with an impression of an ammonite and realised the actual fossil had fallen off separately. So I looked around and there was another huge rock with the back of the ammonite in view. We started chipping away to separate it from the rest of the rock, which took hours. Then it was a question of getting it off the beach. Initially, I put it in a rucksack and managed to walk about 150 yards, but it was much too heavy. We decided to bury it and then come back. Then with a few of my pals came to help me, Scott Cade, Meg Jacobs, Andy Jacobs, Paul Berry, Isaac Roberts and Miles Taylor. But it was still too heavy for us to get off the beach. Finally, after it was buried again, James Blake set up a fishing crate, which we hauled the ammonite onto and gradually moved it off the beach. It was a huge effort, took about 8 days in total to get it back home. I'm now going to spend the next few months cleaning it up properly and will then donate it to Sandown's Dinosaur Museum, so it's there for everyone to see."
No mention of ferries in 58-page transport report. A major new report issued by the body that speaks with a single voice about strategic transport priorities for the South East, and the Department for Transport has regard to when developing government policy doesn't even mention ferries. Transport for the South East was established in 2017 and yesterday published its first State of the Region report. While it covers affordability of transport for both buses and rail and the Isle of Wight's rental e-bike trial, there is no mention of the island's unique dependence on cross-Solent services in its 58 pages. Labour's Richard Quigley said, "What is clear is that the cost of public transport has increased by more than the increase in disposable incomes. Until the introduction of the £2 bus fare, the cost of bus travel was increasing at an alarming rate." What the report doesn't include is cross-Solent transport, as this would no doubt have caused a computer meltdown when they input ferry prices. It also details the reduction in the number of start-up businesses since 2017, as well as the reduction in the total number of businesses in our region. It isn't good news. It also begs the question, what has our MP Bob Seely been doing for the island since his election in 2017? His only contribution seems to be finally realising that ferry fares are too high, which is too little, too late. I had a meeting with Louise Haigh, the Shadow Secretary for Transport, and asked that cross-Solent transport be included in the Labour transport strategy. Her first comment was, "It's really expensive to get to the Isle of Wight," and agreed to what I asked. Labour has a plan for buses and rail, and locally we have a plan for cross-Solent transport. Unfortunately, the Conservative Party and Bob Seely don't. Last Thursday, Mr Seely spoke in Parliament about the high cost of cross-Solent ferries, describing them as some of the most expensive ferries on earth. He said he was moving towards the idea of regulation and that the Isle of Wight Council should have a seat on the boards of both Wightlink and Red Funnel.
Derek's memories of supersonic flight. The 20th anniversary of the retirement of Concorde brought memories flooding back for a West Wight man. Derek Moore of Totland Bay was living in Spain at the time, but booked a special trip on the supersonic plane just a few months before its final flight. Derek was an avid fan of Concorde, starting his career as an apprentice at Avro with the plane's 4 Olympus engines, being based on those employed in the RAF's Avro Vulcan strategic bomber. The first UK-built prototype took off in 1969 and set the record for the fastest ever commercial jet to fly, a title it still holds more than 45 years later. Derek said, "I flew back from Spain, having specially booked a return trip from London to New York, with chauffeur-driven cars and a first-class hotel. It was an absolutely amazing experience. We were doing 1,400 miles per hour at Mach 2. I could feel the heat off the inside of the window as we were flying so fast. We were flying at 58,000 feet, and I could actually see the curvature of the earth in the distance at that height. It was incredible." Afterwards, Derek was presented with a photo of the plane, with a certificate signed by the pilot and crew, which proudly hangs on his wall at home.
Farewell to Company B. Popular Island Close Harmony group Company B has announced they are breaking up with a farewell concert in January. After nearly 9 years together, the group, who were inspired by the Andrews sisters, features members Harriet Jane Back, Thea Grace Callaghan and Natalie Nia Agajanian. A Facebook post explained that the girls are forging their careers in different places in the UK, adding, "This is not a sad goodbye, as we are all so proud of each other for our achievements. both as individuals and as a group. 8.5 years of Company B UK, 7 festivals across the UK, 6 lovely parents providing support and picnics, 5 trips performing abroad, 4 Company B events, 3 girls who have loved singing together, 2 CDs and 1 absolutely amazing following. Thank you for all your support. Their final event will be the Boogie Woogie Ball at Freshwater Memorial Hall on January the 5th, 7 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Tickets are available via iow.life/Boogie Woogie Ball.
A chain takes over more pharmacies. An independent chain has taken over the running of another 2 Isle of Wight town pharmacies. Jute's Pharmacy has added the now former Lloyd's pharmacies in both East Cowes and Ryde to its existing list of island branches. In March, the county press revealed the pharmacies on Ryde Esplanade and Church Path East Cowes were set to be bought by the business. That move has now been confirmed. It is thanks to a £17.4 million funding package, which has been secured with support from HSBC UK. Sarbjit Juti, the Business Development Director at Jute's Pharmacy, said, "We were looking for the right banking partner to support our business and our vision to grow into a larger pharmacy chain. With HSBC's UK's backing, we're committed to providing a service that puts the community first, with a strong face-to-face approach that will offer enhanced support to local areas. Jute's already has premises in Sandown and Ventnor."
Dogged and determined team lose to Portsmouth. Ireland Men's South Central 1 hockey match saw a determined and dogged Isle of Wight disappointedly lose 0-3 at home to Portsmouth, with a player of the match display from Aaron Wood. They hope to bounce back facing bottom club Poole next week. Player unavailability caused the 7th placed men's second 11 to concede their Solent 1 match to Trojans 5-0. They placed 9th, placed Chichester Chipmunks at Smallbrook next. In Women's Division 1 South, the competitive Island side lost 0-1 at home to 9th placed Havant, with the visitors scoring on the break in the first half. Georgia Whittle led the attack with stunning solo runs, skillfully thwarting half the opposition and putting pressure in Havant's half. The island earned numerous short corners but were unable to convert through the match. Despite player of the match efforts by Emily Lord, the side are playing away at 7th placed Hazelmere tomorrow. The second 11's Solent 2 match away at Gosport was postponed due to a frozen pitch. They are at home to top club Havant tomorrow. With most junior matches cancelled due to the weather, the under-14s girls Orcas squad hosted New Forest with an evenly balanced first quarter. The visitors scored before the break, with the Islanders replying in the second half to secure a 1-1 draw.
Island lads batter league lead rivals. Isle of Wight Man vs Fat were welcomed by Basingstoke on Sunday, November the 26th, with both sides knowing a win would put them top for the Christmas break. Coming off the back of away wins at Havant and Detoxford United, and finding themselves top of Southern League 11's Division 2, the undefeated Islanders came into this game confident in securing the win. The score was Basingstoke 0, Isle of Wight 8. The game started with Isle of Wight coming out like a steam train, scoring 3 in the first quarter of an hour, stunning their opponents. The first goal was from Rich Huntley, who delicately chipped the Basingstoke stand-in keeper Sam Davis from the corner of the box, assisted by Rob Eiley. Huntley turned provider for the second, delivering a wonderful corner headed home at the front post by Dane Freer. The third came for a free kick on the edge of the box, following a foul on Andy Wyatt. Eiley stepped up and floated the ball over the keeper. Isle of Wight began bombarding their opponent's goal in search of a fourth, with Simon Evans and Wyatt having some great chances, met by equally great saves from the Basingstoke keeper. Around 10 minutes before half-time, the Islanders' pressure paid off, when Napier stepped in off the left and slid the ball across to Stu Beattie, who slotted home in the bottom corner. Goal 5 quickly followed, when Napier stepped up again to be provider for Mike Burton to smash home. There was still time in the first half for Huntley to ping a corner onto the head of Eiley, who finished for his second and Isle of Wight's sixth without reply. Basingstoke came out for the second more spirited, forcing Isle of Wight keeper Matt Parker to make his only save of the game. The Islanders' seventh goal through Burton, after Freer's shot rebounded off the keeper into him, scoring his second of the match. Then the Isle of Wight rounded off an excellent away win, with Eiley playing through assist keeper Napier 1-on-1, who slotted past the onrushing keeper to make it 8.
White memories and nostalgia. Vectis View, Jonathan Peel. A light in the entertainment industry. I began songwriting in 1964, writing for Billy Fury, Cupid's Inspiration, The Herd, Don Partridge and the New Seekers, and by 1966 I had landed a creative job in music, publishing at EMI. We managed the songs by many artists, including Neil Diamond and the Four Seasons. We also signed to Barclay James Harvest and Stone Graphics, who eventually became Hot Chocolate. Then I was invited to become a record producer at EMI Records. During this period, I had the privilege of recording with Elton John, David Bowie and Mark Boland before they were well known. Instrumental in starting the Harvest label, which was for program rock acts. I produced many LPs that sold worldwide. In the early 70s, I helped produce The Bubblies, a children's animated public series, and Supersonic, a live pop show, both for ITV. With a couple of partners, we set up a television commercials production company and studio. In those days, the business was dominated by Ridley Scott, Alan Parker, and other distinguished filmmakers. However, we managed to win some of the pitches, such as the British Airways Pound Stretchers, Skywriting Series, commercials for Renault, Talbot, Citroën, British Rail's Night Star, British Airways Overseas commercials featuring Robert Morley and Anchor Butter, with real cows playing football while singing a song I co-wrote called We Are Lucky Cows. Leaving the company in the early 80s, I directed the first fully interactive programme on Laserdisc, financed by the Department of Trade and Industry. It was a collection of high-end chemical experiments that used equipment too expensive for schools to buy. The students could see the outcome of all their decisions in real time. This led to my producing and directing several interactive training programs.
I was then headhunted to run an industrial documentary company, making films for clients such as BT, Shell, Gordon's Gin and British Gas. Having sold the company on behalf of the owners, I became involved in producing a Tomorrow's World type programme for China Central Television, setting up an animation production house and studio in Bulgaria, and a facilities company to service American and European feature films also in Bulgaria. Teaming up with John Coates, the producer of Yellow Submarine and The Snowman, we produced the multi-award-winning The World of Peter Rabbit and Friends, bringing Beatrix Potter's beautifully illustrated books faithfully to television. These were all produced using traditional hand-drawn traced and painted cells filmed on a rostrum camera. We then produced 2 animated feature films for ITV, The Wind in the Willows and The Willows in Winter, which won many prestigious awards, including 2 Primetime Emmys. Having bought into Millie Images, a small French animation studio, and set up a UK subsidiary, I helped build the business into a major producer of over 50 television series, a dozen half-hour specials and 6 feature films. The company developed animation studios in Bucharest, Kiev and Chennai, which we sold before going public in 2001. The animation was all made digitally, apart from the initial hand-drawn key poses. Apart from executive producing, I wrote and edited scripts and directed voice recordings. The shows I was most proud of were 5 series of the award-winning 64 Zoo Lane, which played on the BBC for 20 years, and our BAFTA winners, The Little Reindeer, and Pablo the Little Red Fox, also the award-winning Watch My Chops. I spent 22 years on the Animation and Children's Committee of the Producers Alliance for Cinema and Television, with 6 years as chairman. I was vice chairman of PACT for 4 years and then a patron. I retired from work in 2022. Would I do it all again? Not half.
My View by Catherine James, her opinion. A1 as a weapon of mass peace. On Remembrance Sunday, honouring a tradition started by his great-grandfather more than 100 years ago, King Charles III laid a wreath at the cenotaph to remember those who have served and sacrificed, lest we forget. In World War I, millions of people lost their lives. Are they truly honoured? These statistics of the war to end all wars, if there are still combat casualties over a century later. A few days before that solemn ceremony in London, Sir Donald McCullum was interviewed on BBC Radio 4. His name might not be familiar to you, but you may have seen his work. He is arguably Britain's greatest living photographer. His camera witnessed to global atrocities for over 6 decades. From hostilities in Biafra, Vietnam and Northern Ireland, plus documenting AIDS, London gangs and even the battles, his impactful photographs are understandably award-winning. This venerable and thoughtful artist potently proclaimed, "Everything I have done and contributed to, showing how awful international conflict is, has been a waste of time, really. I have been in so many wars and nothing has changed. What I am seeing is horrendous and tragically sad." A few days before McCullum's broadcast, despaired the government had an artificial intelligence summit. This international conference was held at Bletchley Park, appropriate enough, which was, of course, the base for Second World War code breakers. Artificial intelligence has many applications, from medical diagnosis to creative arts and writing. In general, the digital brain ingests large amounts of data, which it analyzes to find structure and regularities. It then uses these patterns to make predictions about future states. Technology Secretary Michelle Donnellan trumpeted that AI is already improving lives, from new innovations in healthcare to supporting efforts to tackle climate change. In the opposite corner was multi-billionaire investor and space junkie extraordinaire Elon Musk, who conjectured at the conference that AI is one of the biggest threats to humanity. It could be argued that, particularly that created what some see as the existential threat of artificial intelligence, That man is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, threat to humanity. But what if we can use I to find the solution to human interminable need to destroy each other? Could the futility of war be solved with the utility of artificial intelligence? We could feed into the Earthschatz Einstein the inexhaustible amount of information about military strategy and the horrors of war. Stir in treaties and pacts, statistics of deaths and casualties, the surfeit of words written about Hitler, the march of the Roman Empire, the squabbles of ancient Greece, maybe even Don McCullen's archive. And if the self-thinking machines can't tell us that war is stupid, using this weight of academic post-mortem, then maybe the lesson that we have learned from history is that we never learn from history. Jeremy Corbyn, MP, states, all wars end with some kind of peace and conference. Let's jump to that stage. The millions of war dead deserve a better legacy than perpetual conflict.
What's on in December? At the Medina Theatre, I'll mention 4 different events. The Wizard of Oz on Thursday the 7th of December at 7:30 is a ballet, a full-length 2-act ballet. On Saturday 9th of December at 7:30, a Tennessee Country Christmas, which celebrates renditions of Christmas favourites in a country style. From the 20th to the 30th December, the normal expected pantomime is Sleeping Beauty, and the families of 4 would be £62, or individual tickets £19, concessions £18. But there's a Sleeping Beauty for grown-ups only, and these hilarious shows will not be for the faint-hearted. It's pantomime as you've never seen it before. But that is on the 27th, 28th and 29th of December at 7 p.m.
Other events. On Saturday the 9th of December, Shanklin Town Brass Band Christmas concert at 7:30. Christmas celebration featuring senior, youth and community band selection of Christmas music. Shanklin United Reformed Church, High Street, Shanklin. On Saturday the 16th of December, the Phoenix Choir, All Saints Church, Queen's Road, Ryde, Isle of Wight at 6:45. Singles Christmas lunch. Single people who are alone on Christmas Day are invited to a West Wight community lunch at the Holy Family Centre next to St Saviour's Church, Totland, 1 p.m. to 4. The full lunch costs just £5, but booking is essential. Local transport is available on the day. To book and transport details, 759 662 or www.ccmas@gmail.com. So far, there are 35 people attending and more are welcome. Shanklin Theatre. On Thursday the 7th of December at 7:30, Big Girls Don't Cry. On Saturday 9th to Sunday the 10th of December, Aladdin by Theatre Train. Friday the 22nd of December to the 1st of January, not the 25th of December, Rapunzel. Friday the 29th of December, relaxed performance, Rapunzel.
A brass Christmas bash. The Christmas concert in West Wight Arts Association's 2023-24 season will be given on December the 9th in Freshwater Memorial Hall by the acclaimed Onyx Brass, starting at 7 p.m. Celebrating its 30th anniversary in 2023, Onyx Brass continues to be the leading light in establishing the brass quintet as a medium for serious chamber music, with an entertaining and articulate style that has become the group's trademark. The group's extensive discography has received huge critical acclaim. They will play a selection of pieces ranging from Bach to Gershwin and beyond. Onyx Brass are being generously sponsored by 2 members of the audience to celebrate their platinum wedding anniversary. Mulled wine and mince pies will be served after the concert, and tickets are available from Tottenham Parish Office or the West White Arts website.
New Carnival presents Ride, Merry and Bright. Join us and celebrate in the town. And it's Friday, December the 8th from 5 to 8 p.m. and Saturday 9th of December 12th to 8 p.m. And there'll be illuminations, entertainment, shopping activities and music and craft market.
And now it's letters. James Rogers of Carisbrook says, "Let's have a swap shop." We have recently been informed that the Newport doctors' surgeries are out of space and not fit for purpose. It has been suggested that a new surgery should be built on the site next to Astor, which is remote from town and inaccessible to most without transport. I suggest that the solution would be to build new county hall offices on that site and to convert the existing county hall offices in the old part for the surgery and the newer section facing Coppins Bridge into much needed flats to help solve the housing crisis. There's ample car parking and is accessible by all means. The sale of the existing premises, the Dower House and the Carisbrook premises, would go a long way toward the conversion.
Don't Be Mean to NHS Patients by Edna Crosby Shelfleet. Going for my COVID-19 injection at Brookside Health Centre, I parked at Mower Place car park, conveniently situated alongside the main West White NHS Centre, only to find that the shortest time I could park was up to 2 hours with a charge of £2.05. Surgery appointments are at 10-minute intervals. Surely there could be a charge of up to 1 hour, or even less if you are picking up a prescription. Come on, Isle of Wight Council, don't be so mean to NHS patients, which can affect all age groups, the elderly and parents with young children.
Bob Seeley, the MP, is grateful to teachers. Teachers do one of the most important jobs in society. I am profoundly grateful to them and the vital work they do day in, day out. In the county press of the 24th of November, the representative of a hard-left union made a series of claims about education funding. I believe they were misleading, and I want to present the facts so islanders can make up their own minds. It was claimed that 88% of Ireland's schools will struggle with cost increases in 2024-25, and that cuts to education provision are now inevitable. This claim is based on teachers receiving an unfunded pay rise, and the government not spending more on schooling to pay for this theoretical award. It's entirely hypothetical. Here are the facts. Fact: under Labour, 68% of schools were rated good or outstanding. Under the Conservatives, nearly 9 out of 10 of schools are rated good or outstanding, a significant increase. Fact: thanks to a standardised teaching approach to reading phonics, English children have the best reading results in the West and the third best in the world after Singapore and Hong Kong, ignoring Russia's false reporting. Fact: school funding in 2024-25 will be at the highest ever level in real terms per pupil. We know there are pressures on budgets. I regularly speak with head teachers about it, and the government is responding. One reason locally why budgets are more stretched than they need to be is because the Alliance-led council is failing teachers, parents and pupils. Councillors urgently need to take action to address vacant school places, because school funding is based on pupil numbers. So, vacant places in a school equals less money. There are over 200 vacant primary school places on the island, the equivalent of about 7 classes, and it's hurting our education. The previous Conservative administration had a plan, but since the Alliance councillors took control, they have done nothing and still have no plan. Union bosses should focus on supporting teachers, not presenting misleading research. I give teachers my word that I am working with the Department for Education to make sure Alliance councillors grip this issue.
Return River to Original Depth by Jeff Arnold of Shanklin. Having read and fully supporting Nick Wade's letter, the County Press 7th of November, regarding Morton Common, I offer the following. Having lived and fished on the Eastern River Yar for the past 70 years, I have tried and am still trying to put a case together to ask that the relevant authorities reinstate the preventative measures which were common practice and carried out each year to maintain the Eastern River Yar courses and ditches by dredging and help to prevent the surrounding areas flooding, including Morton Common, for such long periods that we are now witnessing. In conclusion, by returning the river to its original depth and in addition clearing the feeder ditches across the surrounding fields, it would allow the surface water to run off much quicker into the river and would greatly reduce the level of flooding that we are now witnessing. See my approximate calculations showing the difference in capacity of the river between its once 5-foot depth and the present 18 inches depth. Width of river taken as 12-foot, length over 12 miles. At 5-foot deep capacity, it's equal to 23,679,541 UK gallons. At 18-inch deep capacity, it equals 7,103,862 UK gallons. In recent years, we saw regular news reports about the flooding on the Somerset levels, all of which featured local landowners and residents asking that the rivers and ditches be maintained. I believe I am correct in saying that eventually this was done and has greatly improved the situation.
Hans Bromwich of Cowes says, we will remember. It's a bit rich Laura Trott, Chief Secretary to the Treasury, lecturing Parliament during the autumn statement debate about reducing debt and borrowing as a means of controlling inflation. Has she forgotten that a year ago her party under Liz Truss cost the country over £30 billion with absolutely no tangible gain whatsoever? Those needing to remortgage after the Conservatives trashed the economy won't have forgotten, nor should the MPs who were fully behind Liz Truss at the time be forgotten.
Falling Off My Perch by Tony King Lake. Dear Editor, I would like, through your paper, to apologise to the Prime Minister and Boris Johnson for not doing the right things and falling off my perch. As we have found out through the COVID inquiry, Boris and Rishi wanted those of a certain age to do just that. Instead, I and those other pensioners who survived very selfishly put a burden on the government for which we should all be ashamed. I just want to let them know that I feel very badly about this, and once again I would like to say how sorry I am. Yours, not very sincerely, Tony King Lake.
That is the end of the letters, so it is goodbye from Kate.
And goodbye from Mary.
The BBC In Touch programme follows. There is no scaffolding news this week.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Later tonight, we find out what an award-winning website should look like if you can't see it.
Every photo here is captioned nicely. It's just enough detail to explain what's happening on screen without being overburdening. This feels functionally accessible.
Well, you can find out which organisation produced it a little later on. But first, there were very audible sighs of relief from many of our listeners a few weeks back when the Secretary of State for Transport announced that the idea of closing ticket offices on English railway stations had been dropped. The results of the consultation on the proposals had found the idea overwhelmingly unpopular. But you'll notice I said English, not a slip of the tongue by an overbearing Sassenach, but because transport is a devolved responsibility in the other parts of the UK, where final decisions on this haven't yet been made. And at least 2 visually impaired listeners in Scotland we know of still have some anxieties about using their local stations. I'm joined by Melinda Hanvey from Irvine and first by Janice Mitchell from Livingston. Janice, on the specific issue of purchasing tickets, what do you usually do?
My local station just has a machine which 9 times out of 10 isn't working anyway, but on the one occasion when it is working, I really struggle to use the machine. It's not access friendly, it's not got large print on it. You know, it's traumatic enough doing the journey on some days without then reaching the end of it and having to be in a queue for 20 minutes. Then when you get to the head of the queue, the man says, "You have a guide dog, you should be travelling free." And I said, "I don't think I do travel free. I don't have the special ticket saying that I'm severely visually impaired." And he said, "No, I'm sure you go free if you've got a guide dog." Now, that would be good if it was true, but everyone I ask, I get a different story and there's no way to find out. So I don't want getting arrested for charging free when I'm meant to pay my ticket.
So what are the other issues you're concerned about when you plan or make journeys?
A big problem that I have with the local station is there is no person, it's not a manned station. And I was going on a long journey last weekend to actually go down to London to march at the Cenotaph. From Livingston north to Edinburgh, I really struggled. I did phone passenger assistance who told me they could book me help from the Waverley onwards. My station is unmanned, so this wee man told me, when the train comes in, if you spot the guard, wave him down. Now, I'm not quite sure which part of I'm severely visually impaired and I have a guide dog with me.
Yeah.
He didn't understand, but I can't even tell whether they're male, female, wearing a uniform or what. So that was very anxious for me because a lot of people don't understand, under my circumstances, when you've got a guide dog, you've only then got access to use one hand to help yourself. When you're going on a long journey, you also have a suitcase with you. So I have no hands and no help to get on the train. And in this day and age, I really don't think that's acceptable.
Let me bring in Melinda Hanvey. I mean, your local station is Irvine in Ayrshire, and you've got a long journey coming up soon, I gather. I mean, what kind of problems are you anxious about?
I'm going down to England next Friday. I've booked passenger assist. However, when you get to your local station, you have to give them a reference number to show them that you booked it. So if there's no one manning that station, that straight away scuppers my journey because I just couldn't feel confident enough to go up to the platform myself and get on the train. And then at the other end, when you book passenger assist, you get met off the train and then taken to the next platform to get on your next train.
And how likely is it that there won't be someone at your station?
Well, it's quite frequent that there's nobody at the station. That's not a rarity. Now, like Janice, I'm severely sight impaired, and I just couldn't manage that journey on my own. And it sounds ridiculous, but I'm getting anxious already thinking about it if I get there and nobody's there to help me.
So what do you think you'll do if you get there and no one's there to help you?
Turn back and go home, because I'll have no choice, because I need to be met off the train in Glasgow and then to be taken to my next train. I wouldn't be able to find my seat or anything like that, and I do need help. And if it's not there right at the start of your journey, then the rest just goes out the window.
And what do you understand the plans are in Scotland? Because, I mean, we've been talking on the programme a lot about what was happening in England and the fact that that has now been reversed. What's your understanding of what might happen?
When I first heard of the plans, I was really horrified, because I do go down to England 3 or 4 times a year, and I've signed all sorts of petitions to get the decision reversed, and was absolutely delighted when I heard it had been. But I've heard nothing from Scotland whatsoever.
OK, well, we may be able to add to that, or we may not. Someone who has been taking a great interest in this is journalist Alistair Dalton. He's the transport correspondent for The Scotsman and Scotland on Sunday. He's also written on this subject. Alistair, I gather that certainly initially it did seem as if the idea of closing ticket offices in some Scottish station was on the agenda at the same time as this was being talked about in England. What do you understand the situation is now?
Yes, that's true, Peter, but the plans were much less severe than in England. In all but 3 cases, it was a case of reducing ticket office hours, so perhaps closing them in the evening and closing them at tea time rather than closure. And in fact, the 3 stations that were originally earmarked for closure have had a stay of execution for 2 years just to see if housing developments and business can pick up. This proposal was announced by the Scottish Government at the beginning of last year, so it's gone very quiet since then, and it's been sort of kicked from one minister to another, because in that space we've had 3 transport ministers, and the latest one has almost suggested that she's more interested in delivery improvements rather than what's called the national conversation about ScotRail, which these changes were part of. But what I'm hearing from within the industry is that with the English decision, it makes it very difficult for the Scottish Government to be seen to go ahead with a closure that has been abandoned by the Conservatives. However, on the other hand, I'm also hearing that the English closures may be revised, that there may be alternative proposals coming forward. So this may not be the end of it in England either.
Yeah, because, I mean, I know it's a devolved responsibility in Scotland, but let's face it, trains run between Scotland and England. To what extent are decisions on things like this, in a way, tied together, whether you want them to be or not?
I think the Scottish Government would say, for rail particularly, they're very jealous of going their own way, of having powers over almost everything apart from safety. They've gone for a revolutionary peak fares suspension for 6 months. So you pay a cheap fare all day from now until the end of March. So they're very keen to see blue water between themselves and the UK government, and wouldn't want to be seen to be influenced by Westminster.
Well, we did invite Transport Scotland to take part in this discussion. They declined our invitation, but they did tell us in a statement,
"Our position remains that there are no plans to close any ScotRail ticket offices. The importance of staff being deployed appropriately in stations and across the network to enhance the passengers' experience, including safety and control of antisocial behaviour, is clear. We also appreciate the need to provide assistance for passengers with additional accessibility needs. Ministers continue to consider the evidence and will engage with industry partners on the matter of opening hours of the ScotRail ticket offices."
I mean, Alistair, how do you react to that, given that you made the point that this is still being considered?
Yes, well, that statement is certainly not ruling it out. And these potential reductions in opening hours would affect about a third of ScotRail stations, and most of the ones which have ticket offices, and some of them are really quite severe. Even in Melinda's case, Irvine Station, it would close at around 6 p.m. rather than almost 11 p.m. The other thing is that there is an immense pressure to cut costs on the railways, because there has been a significant reduction in travellers, particularly at peak times during COVID, and the Scottish Government had to plough in hundreds of millions of extra pounds to keep the services running. So they would say that ticket offices have seen a 50% reduction in people buying fares from there in the last 10 years? And is it worth keeping an office open when you're only selling 1 or 2 tickets per day?
Let me just go back to Melinda first. We've heard there the suggestion that, Irvine might be on the list to have its ticket office closing earlier. You've already made the point that, quite often there aren't many people around to help anyway.
There aren't. I feel that I will lose my independence. I just wouldn't be able to do it unless I travelled with somebody else. And I don't really want to have to rely on other people. And
Janice, one of your points was the nervousness, perhaps, particularly late at night. I mean, how much do those statements inspire you with confidence?
They don't. I mean, for me at night, after 4 in the winter, I am totally blind. I can't even make out lights. So when I come back from Edinburgh, as soon as we leave the station before me, which is up Hall, I feel the classic. My heart rate's 300 beats a minute. I am a fortunate person because I have a very good relationship with the local taxi service. So I phone them from up Hall, tell them what time my train is due in, and the taxi driver very kindly comes onto the platform to help me off the train. And while that's great, it's not his job. It's not right. I can't see a thing. And I turn into a gibbering jelly when I'm trying to get off the train.
I'm sure you don't, but I understand the point you're making. Just finally, quickly back to Alistair. I mean, as you can hear, as listeners will have heard, lots of uncertainty there and a lack of confidence in using the trains. When do you think Melinda and Janice and other people will know what actually is going to happen in Scotland?
Yeah, well, it's coming up for 2 years since we first had these proposals, so that's a very big question. However, I should say that Transport Focus, the official watchdog, made the point that you need to give people confidence to travel, and that's the only way that you're going to increase the number of people using the trains. And the unions have highlighted that as well, that it's not just a case of people sitting in ticket offices, it's the fact you've got the presence of staff on the station who could help out people such as Janice.
Right, but you're not going to give me a timescale when they might actually come up with some answers.
I don't think ScotRail themselves knows, actually.
OK, well, look, Alistair Dalton, Melinda Hanvey and Janice Mitchell, thank you all very much indeed. We have also looked into what's happening in Wales and Northern Ireland with their ticket offices. TransLink in Northern Ireland and Transport for Wales have told us that they have no current plans to close ticket offices. If that changes, we'll let you know. If you know better, let us know. Contact details at the end of the programme. Now, one of the points which came across very strongly in last week's item about our digital future was the importance of getting some strong legislation in the UK around making websites truly accessible to blind and partially sighted people. Something we haven't got much of at the moment. But at least one organisation doesn't seem to need it. That's Blind Veterans UK. Now, as their name suggests, they provide support for men and women who were in the services and who've subsequently lost their sight. And they've just won an award from AbilityNet. That's a charity which has been monitoring the websites of commercial companies and organisations for the past 20 years or so. So congratulations, Blind Veterans UK. But we like to do our own monitoring here on In Touch where we can. So we asked Matthew Cooper, who's a blind technology enthusiast, to run the rule over the website for us.
I've already got it open, so I'm going to switch over to it.
Blind Veterans UK, rebuilding lives after sight loss. Menu button collapsed, sub-menu help info.
So I like how they've collapsed some of the menus within buttons. Let's see how well this works. Let's go to the About Us one and expand that.
Menu button collapsed, sub-menu about, expanded. Heading level 2, link about us. Link who we are. Link our impact. Link reports and publications. Link work with us.
Interesting that that's a heading at the top where it says About Us rather than it just being an expanded menu.
Link research and innovation. Link contact us. List with 5 items. Checkbox not checked. Switch to dark mode.
That's cool. They're also thinking of low vision users with dark mode.
Link apply for support. We provide rehabilitation, training, practical advice and emotional support to veterans regardless of how or when they lost their sight. We're here to help blind veterans regain their independence. Caption our handy online checker tells you if you're eligible in just 20 seconds.
I like how they've captioned the photos and done the alt text properly.
Graphic icon of a blind veteran walking with a cane.
I'm really, really impressed with the way that the controls are labelled out, the way that every photo here is captioned nicely. It's just enough detail to explain what's happening on screen without being overburdening, because sometimes image descriptions get way over the top. This feels functionally accessible. It's really obvious that they've actually thought about accessibility in the design process rather than just banging on a bunch of accessible controls after the fact. It feels like I'm looking at a native website. It doesn't feel like I'm working with screen reader specific controls. The amount of times you go to websites where it detects that you have a screen reader and like changes everything. So if you get someone sighted to look at a site, it's hard to explain to them on the website where something is. So yeah, I like this on Windows. Let me grab my phone and I will try it on the phone. So I just used NVDA on Windows. That's the free screen reader. Let's have a look at this. Right, so I'm going to look at this same homepage.
Accept all cookies button. Web page loaded. Skip to content served. Blinded. Supported. Remembrance 2023.
So on the mobile site, it's obvious
Address. Refresh. Bust. Skip to content.
that it's adjusted.
Switch to dark mode. Blind Veterans UK. Rebuilding lives after sight loss. Menu. Pop-up button.
Okay, so we have a menu button on the mobile site that isn't on the main site.
Close menu.
When you're on the desktop.
Navigation. Home. How to use the site. Link. List. Donate now. Search. Pop-up vertical scroll bar. Pop-up button in.
The only thing is, you have to know to go back to the top to get out of that menu.
Close menu. Try our new eligibility checker. Heading level 2. Not sure if you qualify for support from Blind Veterans UK. A phone with a message saying check if you are eligible in 20 seconds. Image. Our work. Heading. How we help veterans.
Yeah, I can see it's virtually the same on iOS, apart from that menu at the top. But that's a pretty standard control on mobile websites now. I think it's deserving of its award, personally, looking at that. Again, it feels like I'm looking at a native website. It doesn't feel like I'm looking at an overlay or anything like that. I like it. It's a good website.
Matthew Cooper, thank you very much. And where Matt describes there the website as native, he means a website that was built as accessible from the ground up, rather than with a load of add-ons. And while on the subject of awards, here's another one. This goes in its 50th year of existence to Metro Blind Sport, which has been given the King's Award for Voluntary Service. And that's regarded as the highest accolade you can get for local voluntary work. Like so many good ideas, the spark for the Metro Club was lit from a chat in the pub back in the 1970s, which recognised that there were very few opportunities for visually impaired people to play sport after they'd left school. Well, since then, Metro has grown steadily and it now provides sporting opportunities for just about any sport you care to name. It's become the bedrock, really, for many international visually impaired teams and for a host of Paralympians. So more congratulations to them. And that's it for today. If you've got any comments or queries you'd like to give us, you can email in touch at bbc.co.uk. Leave your voice messages on 0161 836 1338, or you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/in touch. From me, Peter White, producer Beth Hemmings, and studio managers James Bradshaw and Simon Highfield, goodbye.